Hello, gang, and welcome back to Pop Culture Addicts. This is a show that is made by a nerd for all you nerds, so I'm glad that you could be here. Now, our guest in the Nerdatorium today is an author, a screenwriter. He's a graphic novelist, as well as a producer and director of short films and music videos. There's a whole lot to touch on here. He's written for Star Wars Resistance, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, some work in Transformers, Iron Man, and so much more. He's also written for shows like Gundam, Requiem for Vengeance, and is working on his own novels like Motor City and The Freak Table. So you can find him doing all those things. But tonight, we're also going to talk about how he got started in the entertainment industry, working with industry icons like John Carpenter. That's going to be a cool talk. We're going to talk about writing for major IPs and his own writing process. And of course, he's got a brand new Kickstarter that we want to talk about. And we're going to jump into that and figure out what that's all about. I am very excited to welcome Gavin Hignight to the Pop Culture Addicts podcast. Welcome to the show, Gavin.
Hey, thank you for having me. Thank you for the warm introduction. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're just going to jump right into it here because the very first question I ask, yeah, absolutely. Very first question I ever ask anybody when they've been on the show, unless it's been multiple times. And I ask this for a couple reasons. Number one, I like to know what makes people tick. Why do you do what you do? What's the thinking process behind it? And then also, I'm a nerd, and us nerds love a good origin story. So, in the origin story of Gavin, what made you say, I want to be in the entertainment industry?
It's a good question, and I don't know if I ever even had a choice in the matter. It just seems like I was wired for it. I, like many of your listeners and probably yourself, I grew up on all this great stuff that, I was the right age for Empire Strikes Back in the theater. I was the right age for when stuff like, G.I. Joe and Transformers hit airwaves. I just, I never grew up from all of that. And I was always kind of a storyteller, whether it was a good story or not at a young age. But I was wired for this compulsion to make things. I think as I've gotten older, I realized I really do just enjoy making stuff, whether it be a comic or whether it be a show or even, a model kit I'm building. I just like making and doing. And I think that's kind of just in my DNA, and it drives me, and I've been lucky it's carried me this far.
Absolutely. Okay. Looking back though, do you remember like any one particular show or series that really kind of sparked your interest and made you say, I want to do something like that, or I think I can do that thing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. RPGs, role playing. As a kid, I was younger. I was the younger brother. My older brother was a nerd, and him and his friends, they were playing D&D. They were playing games like Star Frontiers. I don't know if any of y'all remember Star Frontiers. It was a really cool sci-fi version of D&D, basically. And then stuff like Shadowrun hit when I was like a tween, and I couldn't afford to buy Shadowrun, but I really wanted to play like a cyberpunk role-playing game with my friends, so I made my own. And I, basically just came up with a rule set and started world building, and I think for for probably 20 years, that wasn't cool, right? Like at that age, it was counterculture.
For sure.
I feel like, and I feel like between then and now, it was for some time almost just completely lost. And then, 10 or so years ago, maybe a little more, time flies. Role playing came back full force. RPGs came back full force. D&D became cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Now there's YouTube. There's people playing campaigns on YouTube and people watching. But I guess my point being is that, wow, what a great way to craft your brain for storytelling and for characters and adventures. And so I think, being, a tween and getting to participate in those campaigns and games with my, older brother and his friends who knew what they were doing. It primed me for storytelling, and I just kind of didn't stop, from there. At a very early age, I got involved in a film program in my high school, and I made my first legitimate 16 millimeter film at probably like around 16 years old, and
Oh, cool.
all these years later, I'm still trying. Yeah, so.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of interesting is like when I was growing up, I was raised in a conservative Christian household, and so there was always the push away from D&D.
Right.
Coming from I was born in the late 70s. I grew up in the 80s. Going into the 90s, there was still some leftover of the Satanic Panic, and and that was a very real thing. And so trying to get my friends in order to do something, the closest we could get, like we didn't do it with dice and stuff. We just went and played out in the woods because I lived out in the country,
Oh,
and we'd
yeah.
go out in the woods and we were basically doing role playing. It was more LARP. I just didn't realize it back then, that we were playing all these campaigns and doing all these different adventures. We were calling them adventures, but looking
Right.
back, we were LARPing, and we were playing campaigns because we weren't allowed to play D&D because, God forbid we develop some personal, interpersonal skills and talk with people.
Totally. See, and had you been turned on to Star Frontiers, you could have snuck it in. Like, no, this
Yeah,
one's
see, exactly.
safe.
Yeah.
This one's safe. It's planets and spaceships, and it's kind of like Star Wars. Okay, that's fine. That part's
I
fine.
could have totally sold it. Yeah. I
Yeah.
could have totally sold it to Star Wars. My parents were cool with that. I was like,
Yeah.
but wait a minute. The Force is basically just magic. He's moving things with his mind and his hands. I mean, like, come on. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, it's been really cool for me to see this resurgence, and it wasn't even until probably, honestly, I didn't play my first D&D campaign or anything D&D related till about 4 years ago, because
Wow.
of trying
Cool.
to find the right
Yeah.
people, and
Yeah.
and then I got married, had kids, did all these things, and the guys that I was hanging out with, were more into sports and outdoorsy stuff, and nobody wanted to sit around the table rolling dice, and I finally found the right group, and so now we have fun, and I really,
Oh, I
really
love
enjoy
that.
it. So yeah, as a matter of fact, one of the things we're going to start doing for our show here is that a couple of the members just got new computers, and we'll finally support like Baldur's Gate. So we're
Oh, cool.
gonna play Baldur's Gate 3 together online, and
Yeah.
start a whole new campaign with that. And I'm like all giddy, and I'm like, when are we gonna start? What about now? Want to start tonight? Want to do it tonight? Let's do it tonight.
Totally. Yeah. How can I escape reality? Please let me go into another reality now.
Exact. Yeah, because this timeline sucks.
Yeah.
So we'll just leave it at that. But this
Yeah.
timeline sucks.
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's a cool origin story, and I'm thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Now in the introduction, I taled about one of the things we were going to talk about tonight was your Kickstarter campaign. So let's jump right into the
Oh,
Kickstarter.
yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's on Kolchak, the Night Stalker, which was obviously a very classic TV show, and there's a TV movie, and it's really gotten to a point where it's got cult status now.
Totally.
And it's it's cult classic. So tell me, and I'm hoping you'll tell me and the listeners about why you got this Kickstarter started, and what got you involved in it, what it means to you, kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, cult status is really it, right? So, and nerd stuff is really it. So, day job, animation, really cool, that I've been able to say that. In my adventures as a writer, I met Doc Wyatt, who's a fellow writer and nerd, and we worked on shows like Ninja Turtles together and Star Wars, and him and his writing partner, Kevin, I worked for them on Marvel stuff. And, when you're not talking work, you're talking about what you love. And that often for Doc and I was talking about toys and action figures. And there was a point where we were like, let's make our own, And another cult series that is beloved to both of us is The Prisoner. And The Prisoner had never had toys. And we thought, let's make Prisoner toys. We want them. Maybe other people do. And so we kind of took a chance, and we developed and sculpted a Kenner style kind of 80s retro of Patrick McEwen from The Prisoner, and we went and pitched it, and we got the official license from ITV, and then we took it to Kickstarter, and it ended up being a huge success.
Awesome.
The gamble was there are Prisoner fans, there are toy collectors. Is there overlap? And absolutely there was. I'll show you my little. This is one of my favorite toys.
Yeah,
this is one of our first figures. Oops, there is.
Well, that's very well done.
Yeah, Patrick McEwen from the episode Checkmate, number 6. But yeah, so that launched our company. We have a little toy company called Wandering Planet Toys, and we just keep making cool niche cult stuff that deserves toys that haven't gotten toys yet, and that led to doing Nancy Drew. It led to these, and these just shipped. I'm very proud of these. It led to Laurel and Hardy.
Oh wow!
And these are 1/12 or 1/12 scale, very deluxe.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And everything we do is officially licensed. It was great working with the company that handles Laurel and Hardy. And it's been turbulent. The tariff thing almost took us down, but we were able to navigate. Yeah. And we got Laurel and Hardy through the port, and those are shipping off to people. And with that, it was time for our next thing. And we'd been working, and we met Monstrous, Monstrous are publishers they re-released the Kolchak the Night Stalker. I'm looking for my book here. The original book that it's all based on by Jeff Rice.
Okay.
I'm going to hold that up. It's a wonderful edition.
Well, that's great.
And my camera blanked out for just a second there. So that wasn't me. It was the camera. But yeah, so we're working with Monstrous Books. And we were like, I want on my toy shelf, fighting all of my monsters, a Kolchak the Night Stalker. So there's our prototype of Carl Kolchak. How fun is that? And March 16th is when we always start with a Kickstarter, because these toys are so niche that we need help making them. Like we can't, the tooling and the manufacturing is so expensive that we essentially have to pre-sale. We had to do it with Prisoner and Laurel and Hardy, and Kickstarter's been amazing for that. So we're putting together our Kolchak line. It's a very basic line of these, deluxe, 6-inch figures, and the accessories he comes with are almost as cool as the figure. He comes with a typewriter and his tape recorder, and it's fun making toys that come with really weird, I'm a big G.I. Joe guy. I love Star Wars, so many of my toys have blasters and guns, but it is cool making an action figure that comes with, a saxophone or comes with a typewriter. It's just different. So yeah, man,
that is different.
Yeah, and Laurel and Hardy, Stan Laurel came with a bag of hard-boiled eggs and nuts. That was his prop. So. We're making weird stuff, and we're making all these amazing weird friends who buy it, and that's our side hustle. Wandering Planet Toys is kind of what we do for fun when we're not hustling, writing gigs, and killing ourselves to make TV or get in the door on a TV project. Yeah.
No, I think that's really cool. I want to say that I saw the Laurel and Hardy stuff. I've seen that before. And I always thought, man, the detail on that is fantastic.
Thank you.
Those are those are really, really cool. And that one, I might need to get one of those to put it up.
Oh yeah, I got to show you.
It would fit in well.
We did black and white ones. I'm so excited about the grayscale. Yeah, we did black and white.
I did not know about those.
Yeah, super fun.
Giggity. Giggity.
And,
giggity.
You can swap out their facial expressions and their hands, and I don't think we're done with Laurel and Hardy. I love them. I grew up on Laurel and Hardy. I had a good friend, and we would, we didn't have it on TV. A lot of people saw it as like a TV show. It had been edited, like the short films, into TV, but we were finding the short films in collections on VHS. So like you learn something new, with every project. And I learned by doing Laurel and Hardy that half the country thinks it's a TV show because it was edited into, a spot for TV and played on local stations. But I always
Right.
saw it as, the short films and the feature films. But yeah,
Oh
love
yeah, for
them.
sure.
And I got to say too, the Laurel and Hardy fan base has been really cool. Because it's not necessarily people who are toy collectors. A lot of Laurel and Hardy
Okay.
fans are like, this is the first Kickstarter I had ever done, or, what
Okay.
what's backer kit? There's a lot of things we had to explain. But what's cool is
Sure.
now that the figures are arriving with people, it's really neat because they're like, oh my God, I've wanted this my whole life and no one ever made it. And now it's here. They're very passionate and grateful. Not that Prisoner and Nancy Drew fans aren't, but those are fans that are a little more nerdy and see this stuff. Laurel and Hardy fans, the collectible action figure is kind of a new thing for them, and it's been fun to experience that.
That is cool. Yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah.
think that anyone would have ever thought of doing that as a collectible action figure, but I love the fact that there is, and that black and white is what caught my attention. Now I got to go
Oh
find that.
yeah.
So no, that's really cool, man. And what's the name of the company again, so people can look it up?
Yeah, Wandering Planet Toys. And
Perfect.
if you pop that into a search engine, it'll take you either to our website or to our Kickstarter page, which gets a lot of traffic. And
Awesome.
we have more coming. We're working pretty passionately on some new stuff for later in the year, and I'm finally getting to scratch my horror itch a little bit. So more
Nice.
horror stuff is coming too. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
I'll make sure I'll put some show notes down below. Some
Appreciate
links
that.
in the show notes rather, so that way
Yeah.
people can look you up, find you, and follow you guys and make sure that they're staying in step with what you guys are releasing. Because I love people who reach out and they're doing stuff for the cult classics, all these niche areas that may have gotten overlooked. Like
Totally.
Laurel and Hardy would have never thought that there would ever be action figures for Laurel and Hardy, and I think that that's phenomenal. And I'll be quite honest, I never thought there was going to be anything for Kolchak either. So I think stuff like this is really cool, and I think it's smart that you guys are doing it with a Kickstarter campaign, because it gives you a good way to test the waters and make sure that there's actually a base there for people who are going to want it. And I think that if you're doing that with this is the type of stuff, and especially if it's looking that good, man, this is the type of stuff that's going to get your name out there and get people interested. So yeah. I'm a fan. You'll
awesome.
be seeing more from me.
It's an interesting time. Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's an interesting time that with crowdfunding and with say like ZBrush, little guys like us can make some pretty cool stuff and make it happen. And it's a lot of work. I'm not going to lie about that. It's a lot of back and forth, and a lot of heartache, with things that are out of your control. But we've landed the plane, I think, 5 times now. So we'll just keep trying,
man.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, very cool. Like I said, we'll put some notes down and some links down in the show notes rather, so that people can find that. And I want the people to be, guys, give this a follow. This is going to be some really cool stuff. And I think that there's going to be, just based on what Gavin's saying, and I know he doesn't want to give away the farm here as to what's all coming up, because but I'm sure there's some cool stuff that we're going to want to pay attention to.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So especially apparently if you're a horror fan, so you're going to want to pay attention to that.
Yeah. Oh, I wore this shirt, by the way, for you guys. It's a Kolchak shirt.
There you go. Check that out.
Go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well played, sir.
Yeah. Representing.
Very nice. All right, so let's switch gears up a little bit here, Gavin, because I want to talk to you about some of the other stuff you've done. Not to overlook or overshadow what you got going with Wandering Planet, but you've had some opportunity to work in some very cool sandboxes. Now, one of the reasons I got to know of you and who you were is because I am a ridiculously large Star Wars fan, and I found out that you had written for Star Wars Resistance. And then because I was looking through some of the cast, and I had invited a few members of the cast on, and I've had a few members of the cast on the show, and it's been a lot of fun. And I was looking through, and I was like, oh, Gavin Hignight, who's the well, he's been with that. He's been and it was like, your resume is really cool. I mean, like I said, Marvel, TMNT, Transformers, all these different things. But you've also had opportunity to work with guys like John Carpenter.
Oh yeah. Speaking of horror.
So, speaking of horror, It was a
Yeah.
really nice lead in for me you gave me here, so thank you. I was like, I gotta strike while the iron's hot. We're gonna use that segue while it's still there.
Yeah.
So, what did it mean to you personally to be able to work on a project with John Carpenter, and what are some of your favorite memories of those instances?
Well, it's huge. It's huge. Maybe so much so I'm glad I didn't realize how huge it was while I was in the midst of it, because I was
Sure.
just so focused on getting the gig, getting the gig done right. Um, you know, I I'm a huge fan of film. I've tried to, my whole life has led to moving to Los Angeles and trying to make film, and that led to some cool adventures in TV and all this other stuff. But yeah, man, I mean, like, The Thing is arguably one of the best films ever made. You might be able to even argue it's the best horror film ever made. And you know, to be able to work with anyone who had, made that, let alone the architect of it, was amazing. Same with They Live. I mean, these things are just part of our cultural shorthand now, right?
Right. Yeah.
And at one point, it was just words on paper that John Carpenter had put down, and he got it into the universe, and it's part of our culture. And so Sacred Bones are friends. Caleb, who owns the record label, is a friend, and you know, we I'm out here where John is, and I just, harassed the hell out of Caleb. I was like, I know the music's coming. I know it's great, and please, 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 if he doesn't want to make his own video, he doesn't want to direct his own video, let me know. And that was the case. I don't want to speak for John Carpenter, but he clearly really is enjoying making music at this phase in his life.
That's
And
cool.
yeah, I mean, they're super busy from what I can see, from where I'm at. And they're constantly making amazing new music. And I love his style of synth. He's a pioneer. He's literally a pioneer of synth music. Um, if you go back and you look at, like, when synth started to break in, and when it was starting to be used, I mean, he made it an art form, out of necessity, right? If you go into that trivia
Yeah.
about, why he was scoring his own films. But yeah, it was really intimidating. He's tough. He is a tough dude. He's like the stern film professor that you don't know if you're ever going to get approval from. He's nice. He's very to the point, and kind of hard. He's kind of tough. But when you get an approval from him, you feel great. Because he
Right.
isn't going to accept uh, anything that isn't. He's got good taste, and whether it be in video games or music or film, you could just listen to him talk about other people's art, and you're like, this guy's a film professor. This guy knows the craft to, every shred of his DNA. Um, but yeah, so Night was the first video we did. And I had the concept, and we pitched it to him through the label, and he I think he liked. That's the one. There's like an avatar driving a car, and
Hmm.
half the work, 3/4 of the work is done for you when you're doing a John Carpenter music video, because the song is fucking incredible, and it fills your mind with images and story. And I had heard that was kind of the point of the Lost Themes albums, is that he had said something like, this is music for the stories in your head, or something like that. And that video is a result of that. I was listening to Night. God, it's such a great song. If you haven't heard it, go to YouTube, type in John Carpenter Night, and listen to it,
Okay.
and hopefully watch the video too. um but yeah, so we did that. um you know Basically, John was one day. It was, a one shoot day to get his stuff, and we just tried to be as buttoned up as possible and get him in and out, so we didn't, like,
Yeah.
bother him. And he was very gracious. His wife is amazing. Sandy, she was there that day. His whole little universe of, you know, all the comics they publish and all her work and him working with his sons. I just, they're amazing humans, and I treasure that experience. Yeah. And then we did another one, and the second one was called Utopian Facade. It was for the next album he had done of Lost Themes, and that one was tough, man. We shot it. He wasn't thrilled with some of the creatures we built, so we had to go back. We had to do reshoots. Not
Okay.
uncommon. But once again, like I said earlier, when we did get it to a level which he approved of, it felt great, and I'm really proud
I
of
bet.
them. Yeah. And what's crazy is, you know, so we shot. My buddy Ben and I kind of co-directed it. He's a amazing DP, and we just kind of, you know, it was so collaborative. We just kind of co-directed, and we shot in some woods that are not far from that iconic rock in Arena, the classic Star Trek episode where, you know, Kirk
Oh,
fights the
okay.
Gorn. We
Yeah.
were like, you could see that rock formation from the woods we were shooting in
Okay.
for the video, and you know, we got in, we did the reshoot. And I'm not kidding you, probably 3 months later, wildfires laid, just is all gone. You
Oh
know,
man.
yeah, you know, we've had so many horrible wildfires in LA in the last 10 or 15 years. And one of those, you know, storms of fire, for lack of a better term, just obliterated where we shot. So I was like, you know, thank God we got to use it when we did. And
Yeah, for sure.
you know, I'm hoping by now, that was already almost 8 years ago. Jeez. Hopefully the area is recovering, but I just remember thinking, oh, thank God we got it, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that sounds like a very cool experience. Glad you have it. You
Super
know, you
cool.
see,
I'm a huge fan. You know, I was a huge fan of his before working with him, and I'm a huge fan after working. Yeah.
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I think if I ever had a chance to sit down and talk with John Carpenter, I would say thank you for making me distrustful of huskies when I was little. Uh, I watched the movie The Thing when I was far too young, and
Oh yeah, man.
that scared the absolute bejesus out of me. I was scared of huskies for longer than I would like to admit,
Oh
and they're
wow. I
beautiful,
don't doubt
wonderful
it.
dogs, you know.
Yeah, but
But
not
you know,
that
you
one.
watched not that one. When you watch, as you know, like I was 7 or 8, you know, I think when I, you know, when I snuck off somewhere to watch it, maybe 10, whatever. And when you see that thing crawl out of the
Yeah.
husky, you don't like huskies no more. They're
No.
they're they're meanies,
Those effects, those practical effects,
way
just
ahead of their time.
they hold up tremendously. They're
Yeah,
better than effects now.
yeah,
It's just real. You're watching it and you're like, this is real.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
terrifying.
yeah. I went back and watched that a couple years ago, and I'm like, yep, still holds true. Still kind of scares the crap out
Totally.
of me. All right.
Did now to stir it back again, you know, we were talking about RPGs and role playing in games. Did you
Yeah.
see about 10 or so years ago, there was a crowdfund and a company made a Thing board game? It's
Oh,
super fun. It is super fun.
I did not.
I don't want to say it was Mondo, but it was, you know, one of these, you know, more modern companies made a really cool The Thing board game, and I've played it many times with friends. One of the cool things is one
Interesting.
of you, when you start the game, is infected, is the Thing, and you keep it secret from the other players, and you try to foil them. And as the game goes on, more people get infected.
Making notes.
It is a great experience. And I think all
That
the
sounds
times we've ever played it, we've only really defeated the infected once. It's hard, man, but it's always fun. Yeah.
that sounds like a hoot. I just wrote that down in my notes because that's definitely
Yeah.
something I'll be checking out. But yeah, oh, very cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about your own writing and the things that you write for yourself, the things that you do, whether it's for things that you write for yourself in your novels, for your short movies, or things where you're writing in somebody else's sandbox, like Star Wars, Marvels, things like that.
Yeah.
You have characters to make and world building to achieve. So Do you have a process for this? Is there a set process, or does it vary from project to project?
It's a great question, and I think that I have my habits that I settle into, but it definitely varies by IP, by who owns it,
Okay.
and by yeah, what the project is, and how involved I get to be. Um, Sometimes it's easier when you're handed the toys and you're like, okay, like with Transformers is a good example. Um, there are just rules for Optimus Prime, and you follow them. And it makes
Right.
in some ways, your job easier because he's so well defined. You know how Optimus is going to behave. You know how he's going to sound. Um, I think it was very
Sure.
beneficial to me to be writing Ninja Turtles so young in my career. That was the first show I ever got to write.
Okay.
I was very lucky. I got a break and I got to write on the 20. People call it the 2000X Ninja Turtles. That was the
Yeah.
I think 4Kids Entertainment Saturday mornings on Fox Box.
Yeah.
And Ninja Turtles is great because it's such a lock solid. It's almost like a master class in character, and it's so simple. You have your one that struggles with being the leader, who's very, outgoing. You have your nerd, you have your goofball, and you have your angry guy. Those are four
Right.
very distinct archetypes that almost every project could use a version of. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was, learning how to write through Leo's voice or Raph's voice or Mikey or Donnie, kind of taught you the differences between the four brothers, um, and it kind of taught you the differences between different types of characters. So I think Turtles was a great thing for me to have to grab onto and grasp as a young writer. I was so fortunate to get back into the universe with them on 2012, the 2012 show, which to this
Mm-hmm.
day may still be my favorite project I've ever worked on. I
Oh,
love
really?
that
Okay.
version. Yeah, I love that version of Ninja Turtles. It was just a great, Brandon and Ciro, who were just the architects, the masterminds behind the show, were so great to work with. The voice cast, just everything about it. On screen and off screen was a really joyous project. Um, and I think it stands up. I think if you look at the history of all Ninja Turtles, the 2012 show, um, really really shines. And I'm biased. I worked on it, but um,
Fair.
don't ask me. Ask Kevin Eastman. Because I know he was very gracious and to us about how much he loved it. But yeah. It depends. Sometimes working on your own stuff is harder because you're conjuring it and you're really taking chunks of your
Sure.
soul out and putting them on paper. And it's interesting you write that because right now I'm writing a new TV pilot, and I'm in that zone right now of really figuring out who these characters are.
Sure.
And there are days where I get a page or two and I'm done because I'm exhausted, because I'm like, it's like you're an icebreaker and you're just trying to plow through this all on your
Sure.
own.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas, you know, Star Wars, like Resistance, um, that's a hive mind. Transformers Cyberverse, we constantly refer to as a hive mind. You don't have to do as much heavy lifting on your own because it's a group of you at a table, and you're
Mm-hmm.
hitting ideas back and forth, and something builds from that. Um, Anime is very different. Anime, I worked on Tekken Bloodline for Netflix, and I worked on Gundam Requiem for Vengeance. And pros and cons, uh, you're the writer. 6 episodes, you're writing all six, which is amazing as a writer. You'd love that, and for a paycheck, you love it. But it means a lot more responsibility. Of course, you have your producers, and you have the people who, like,
Sure.
say, manage your own Gundam, or the people who manage your own Tekken, and you have like the producer who's helping you. But you're responsible for six. Uh, you know, Say Star Wars Resistance, you brainstorm 4 or 5 all together as a group, and then you're assigned one of those 4 or 5, and you break off and you write that. And then, your
Okay.
story editor and the producers give you notes, and there's like a real system that helps it get better. You don't have that system when you're writing a pilot by yourself and hoping to sell it to someone. But that's why, you give it to friends you trust who have, I worked, Court Lane
Sure.
as a producer that I worked with at Marvel. Court oversaw a lot of the Marvel animation stuff. And he's just one of the smartest guys in the room about story and character. And to this day, when I write new things, I call him up and I'm like, hey, would you mind looking at this?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I don't say that lightly because I don't like getting notes from people. I don't like being told what to do with my, because you write it and you think it's brilliant and you're in love with it, and then someone tells
Sure.
you how it could be better, and sometimes you don't like that. But there are people. I'm working with a producer right now named Margaret French Isaac, who on a feature I wrote, she gave me like 40 notes, and 39 of them I was like, I'm taking all of these. So when you
Yeah.
meet people like that in your life, you treat them well, and you keep coming back to them for notes. So yeah,
Yeah,
lots of
absolutely.
different ways, man. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. It's cool that you have somebody though that you can trust in those instances. I recently only started getting involved in writing myself the last couple of years. Um, I've always grown up saying, "Oh, I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer. There's no way I could be a writer." And not that I feel like I am a writer per se. I've been working with a couple different pop culture different websites and writing
Cool.
for
Yeah.
them and things. But I have a couple people that I will send my stuff off to before I submit it to my editor and be
Yeah.
like, can somebody does this is this stupid? Does this
Right.
sound
Yeah.
stupid? Tell me if it's
Totally.
stupid. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. No, same.
so
And uh, I'll let you know when I feel like I'm a writer too, by the way. You know what I mean? Like I just keep trying and pushing stuff. Uh, it's all we can do. And I always tell this to you know, because without a doubt, because I do animation, young writers will reach out. People who got hooked on a
sure.
show when they were in high school or junior high, and now they're entering college, and they're like, maybe I want to pursue this, and they'll reach out to people who wrote shows they liked. And I always tell folks when they do somehow get through to me, it's a muscle. It's like going to the gym. You're not gonna, it's a muscle you have to work out every day. And hopefully it's one you enjoy. The best writers I know write whether it's going to get published or made, or they just write
Sure.
because they
Yeah.
like getting lost in those worlds. And that's I tell you, that is why I'm writing this TV pilot right now, because reality is so stressful. I was like, I need to escape somewhere for a couple hours a
Yeah.
day. And I'm writing a period piece that takes place in the 90s, and it's very nice to go back. I'm like trying to time travel through the
Yeah.
script.
That'd be very cool right now. I
Yeah.
take that. Yeah. You know, yeah, I think that's really cool. I love that you have because I mean, with reality the way it is, escapism right now, I think is one of the more important things that we can have. Whether you're finding that you're rolling dice, you're playing video games, you're reading books, you're writing books, whatever it is,
Yeah.
escapism is very, very important. So I didn't have this question scheduled to ask you, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Yeah.
Because I think it just marries up so nice to where this discussion has gone. So you're doing all these things. Reality's hard, but if even though you enjoy writing and you use that to escape reality, when that doesn't work, how do you recharge your batteries?
That's
How do you
yeah.
get yourself to just take that deep breath, man?
Yeah. Great question. And also, I'll add to it, when you turn what you do for escapism into your job, right? And then
Right.
it's one more thing that stresses you out. That's something I'm constantly having to
Sure. I believe that.
balance. I think most of the professional creatives I know have
Yeah.
that moment that's like, oh man, I hate doing this now? I can't see the forest through the trees. I think for me, my wife does a very good job of making me chill out and
Cool.
get outside of my own bullshit. I I think one of the best things I do is workout. I think, getting that exercise and those endorphins kicked up in the blood and stuff helps. The other thing I do is I ride a motorcycle. That might not be for everybody, but I do realize that if I can get out once a week and just, take a little ride. The good thing about the motorcycle, good or bad, is that it forces you to be in the moment. It forces a kind of a zen where you're not thinking about your
Sure.
past, you're not thinking about your future, you're thinking about the road. You have to think about the road, or someone will kill you, especially in LA. And
Right. Yeah.
right, so I kind of like, I like that when I'm on it, it forces me to be in the moment. It's like a forced kind of zen thing, or I could not. My head could be in the clouds and someone could, smash into me. But I like when you get out there and you're writing, it's just you and, your thoughts and hopefully, um, you unplug from yourself and get that. I got distracted because while we were talking, I looked down, I realized, so that Kolchak I showed you was a prototype. And I
Right.
didn't realize that our prototype painter had done the accessories. They were in the bottom of the box. So
Oh, check them out.
look at my little hammer and where is it? I'm gonna get at my camera there somehow. God, look at that.
There it
Hammer
is.
and stake.
Yeah.
And the
That's very,
crucifix. Sorry
that's
guys,
awesome.
you saw it here first. I didn't realize we had the prototype accessories.
All right. Very cool. All right. Well, I think we've asked you enough serious questions, Gavin. I think it's time for a silly question.
I love it. Let's do it.
All right. All right. So it's not horribly silly, but the way this works is that one of our team members here, Kathleen, she was out and about with her daughter, who's about 6.5 or almost 7 now. This was about a year or so ago. And they asked her daughter this question, but not Kathleen. And Kathleen was like, well, that's rude. I should always be asked this question. You should never age out of this question. And that question is, Gavin Hignight, what's your favorite dinosaur?
Oh, I have to think about that for a second. I think where is he? I have two answers for you, which is, well, this is terrible. I know Transformers and Dinobots better than I know actual dinosaurs at this point. But
That's fair.
Brontosaurus, is that what sludge is? Or gosh, a Brontosaurus, the big long neck.
Yeah, that's a
Plant
brontosaurus.
eater. I've always
Yeah,
been very fond of the Brontosaurus. Yeah.
yeah. Peaceful,
Who
do
I,
no harm.
yeah, exactly. Big long neck for eating foliage off
Yeah,
trees.
they're just giant
Um,
Eeyores.
yeah, totally. Yeah, it's I may have to go back and educate myself because I'm forgetting dinosaur names, but I remember Transformer names. What does that say about me?
Says you're a cool geek. That's what that means.
Yes.
All right, Gavin, thank you so much for being on Pop
Uh,
Culture Addicts today, man. Where
thank
can our listeners
you.
go? Yeah, thank you. Where can our listeners and viewers go to find out more about you, your work, and your toy company?
Yeah, so best place I tell people for me is just my Instagram, which is Gavin Hignight, Instagram Gavin Hignight. Lot of toy photos. I just have fun there, I
Perfect.
don't argue with people. I just post pictures of toys or travel in other countries and I have a good time there.
Dig it.
And then Wandering Planet Toys is our website, is our Instagram. And yeah, Wandering Planet, it comes up pretty easily. That's a good place to find stuff too. Yeah, and we're going to be at WonderCon for those in your audience who are going to be at WonderCon at the end of this month. We have an indie toy panel we do with people there called Indie Toy Makers Unite. It's very fun.
Nice.
Yeah, so say hi. Tell me you're a listener. That's how you found us. Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, I'll make sure that, like I said, we're going to put notes down and links down and below. So I'll make sure that we not only note for you, but also for your toy company as well. Make sure that that's all down there, and we'll put website and Instagram for that, so that there's easy contact and easy followability for that. Because he's got some cool stuff coming, guys. He's got some cool stuff already out. And I can tell you that I will be ordering the black and white Laurel and Hardy.
Yes.
Because that just looks so cool. It's one of those things. It's, you know what, you don't know you need it till you see it, and then you're like, I gotta have that. I gotta have that. Which also explains most of the Funko Pops behind me. I didn't know I needed to have them until I saw them, and then it just turned into a.
I have the same problem.
It's not addiction. I can quit whatever I want.
Exactly.
All right. On behalf of Gavin Hignight, thank you for watching and or listening to this nerdy old podcast. And we hope that you'll stick around and consider giving us a subscription, because it means more than I can ever tell you. So in the meantime, continue to let the force. Boy, I just screwed up my own tagline. We'll try that one again.
Do it.
In the meantime, may the force be with you as you continue to live long and prosper. Goodbye. Reference to any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by Pop Culture Addicts. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@pcapod.com.